Good afternoon and welcome to the 52nd episode of My First Job, the podcast. We've been on for this whole year, and to end this year as we come to the end of 2023, what could be a better way than to say thank you to people who have demonstrated empathy and who know the meaning of the word far beyond the way it's used in academics and in conversation. I have with me three examples of empathy in completely different directions. My name is Venugopal, and I head the company called Ideascape. And this has been a labor of love, speaking to people from different careers every week. And each week, I learn something new, which has been one of the biggest motivations to keep this going. So let me bring on stage one by one the people who are going to be on the program today. Shobha Menon is the founder of an NGO called Nizhal, which means shade, and she believes in urban reforestation. In a world where we used to sing concrete jungles, she's the one who looks for those patches of green. So we'll bring Shobha on and figure out what her motivations have been. Hi, Shobha.
Hi,
Welcome to the show and great
thank
to
you
have
so
you on
much.
the program. Okay. Next, we have Kala Balsundaram, who runs an NGO called Alert. A lot of us say that we should have, we should know what to do in case of an emergency. But Kala didn't stop at that. She actually built an organization around telling people what to do in terms of a crisis and how to be prepared for emergencies. And today we'll figure out what her motivations have been. Hi, Kala. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Okay. And finally, someone, it's a whole lot of people love their pets and they look after that one dog and one cat. But what about the strays? What about the animals who have nothing? And Sasha has been saving the uh, animals who really don't have a home, don't have someone to look up to. And how can you be so selfless and keep going after, what people generally tend to look at the problems in a neighborhood, the strays and the cats who are around. She believes that there is a life for them as well. So, Sasha, welcome
Hello.
to the show. Okay, great to have you all. And let me start with Shobha. And where did this whole journey begin, Shobha?
I used to write a lot on civic issues. As a
Okay.
journalist, I've been very interested in civic issues and social and environmental issues. And while writing about all these civic issues, I realized that greening was rarely looked at as an important civic issue. It was always outsourced to the NGOs or the government or anything else. So, as a civic issue that people needed to ask for, while people asked for roads or water or everything else, nobody actually looked at the green part of it, which is so vital to us. So that was how this idea of Nizhal began. We decided a few of us decided to come together and form a trust. And Nizhal began in September 2005.
So it's almost been around for 20 years now,
Yeah,
18
yeah,
years.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's amazing because to sustain something like this is not easy at all. It's a constant fight against regulation, policy,
Yes.
vested interest, because there are people who want to protect whatever they've got because they think that it's valuable in a different way altogether.
Yeah.
So,
So
more power to you.
primarily, it's about no. How do we look at planting the right trees in the right locations? What
Right.
about sensitive greening? What are the kind of species we plant? Those things were rarely looked at in that time. So that was our battle. No, constantly that's the battle we fight.
Okay. I'll come back to you. So, Kala, where did it start? Was there a defining incident, or was it just that you found that people wanted to help but didn't know what to do in case there was an emergency. What was the start?
Yeah, so Venu, first of all, thanks for giving this fantastic opportunity towards the end of the year. And yeah, to go back to the story as to how it all began, to the genesis of what I'm doing at the moment. Like I was like typical any other IT professional, going to the company, in the bus and coming back every other day. And this was back in 2005, 2006, when I used to work in a UK based organization that was based in Siruseri on the OMR. And when we are talking about the OMR, for people in Chennai, they would know that right now it's a 6 lane, what they call as the IT highway. But back in
Okay.
2005, 2006, it was
There
like
was
more
nothing.
of a cattle highway. So because,
Yeah.
just to reach from Madhya Kailash to Siruseri, it'll take a good 1.5 hours because the roads were
Yeah.
full of potholes and the cattle traffic. So to see an accident very, very often, when I say often, it wouldn't be an exaggeration when I say that, I used to see an accident at least once in 10 days. So that used to
Wow.
be the kind of frequency where, and sitting from, looking out of the organization bus, the company bus, it would typically be a youngster who's at, peak breadwinning age. It would be an IT professional in that area most of the time, and with helmet, without helmet, that was not the disturbing factor. The disturbing factor was more the fact that immediately there are people around there, but they would be just standing there, not knowing what to do next. And
Okay.
looking at this scene every single time, my heart would go out to say, why are the people just standing there? Why can't they just give water? ஏன் தண்ணி கொடுக்க கூடாது? Why can't they just do something rather than standing there and talking? And you call it the awakening moment, you call it the my guilt conscious or a wake up call. One of the days thought was, hey, this, when the same question came, the question in me was, what are you doing about it? Every single time you too raise the same question, but you're keeping moving, you're not doing anything different. So that was more like, if I have to really put it very dramatically, a slap on my face. So that was I call it the awakening moment for me. And I felt, I should get trained in first aid, and the intention was very simple, not any big value system or nothing. I mean, it was nothing, no major agenda in that. I thought that I should get trained. So it was only when I got trained, the realization that these are all very, very simple universal techniques that once you learn, anybody can save a life. In a country like ours, to have a doctor in every family is impossible. And
Right.
say, or every time there's a road traffic accident, or every time somebody collapses in a sudden cardiac arrest, if you are expecting a doctor to be there, it is impossible. I mean, if I really have to make that statement. But is it possible to have a first responder there? Definitely it's an S. And so this was what was made me think that, why can't this life saving skill, which is available in a UK or a US, why can't this be made available to everybody in our
Everyone
country,
out here. Okay.
everybody in a
Fair enough.
country? Yeah.
Great. So I'll come back to you with more details on how you got it moving. I'll just bring Sasha in to try and understand what were her motivations. Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Sasha. So where did it begin? I believe you were a young child when you started
Yeah.
this whole process. So were your parents happy about that, or you just for you it was very
Um,
important to do?
I cannot say she was okay with it, but um, I was 10 years old and I just found a kitten with nose bleeding. So I just had to get him to the hospital. So I was looking through, I didn't find any vet. So I just went to the shelter. I just got the address, I went there, and I was like longing to take a pet home, and that was not allowed. So I thought, okay, if I'm not gonna have a pet, let me make whatever is available and just keep them safe. So that's when I started volunteering. They taught me a lot of things, and yeah, the most of the accident cases we get, most of the cruel, like, human induced traumas.
Okay.
I make sure that they're safe, they get homes, they get food, shelter. So at 10, I started it. At 19, I'm still doing it. So I'm pursuing veterinary, and I really wish I do it a lot more. So,
It's amazing how much all of you seem to have those reserves of kindness, of empathy, of you always say, "I hope there was somebody who does it," but in this case, like Shobha said, you started out by writing about it, and
Yeah,
then you decided that no, it's not enough to write, maybe there's something. And I love the fact that you're saying that the tree has to be something that's good for that environment, because recently I read this report saying a person said you've planted a million trees, but if it's not in the right place and it's not the right environment,
yeah,
there's no point. You're simply going ahead and trying to make amends instead of actually bringing about change.
exactly. So,
So
yeah, yes, Venu.
yeah, so how did it progress from there?
So, like I was saying, planting the right kind of trees in the right location was the first step. And along the way, we felt that people needed to know what trees were already there around them. So, we started the idea of tree walks. So, the tree walks, we had a resource person going around and talking about trees in different neighborhoods. So the idea here is when people learn about the trees around them, they begin to care for them. So that was the first step. So the next step that happened was our Free the Tree campaigns. When people noticed trees were abused, nails on trees, boards on trees, wires around them, people on the walks said, let's remove those. So that is how our Free the Tree campaigns began. And then the next big step was our community volunteering. When we started work in the Kotrapuram Urban Forest, which is now the Kotrapuram Urban Forest, then we called it the Kotrapuram Tree Park. It is about a 5 acre dump yard which we have converted it into a forest. And when we began, we didn't have resources, we didn't have much funds, not enough volunteers. So every weekend we would put it on social media. Anybody across the city could come and volunteer. And that is a model, I think, across India, really, because it is a community volunteering space. All our sites are for community volunteering. Anybody from any profession can come and volunteer, and we will guide them in all the simplest steps of tree care.
How did you manage to get interest in the tree walks to begin with? Or you decided that you will go ahead and start it and then see who joined or who came in?
No, actually, Venu, there were a lot of people who are interested really.
Okay.
But the gap we found was after a bit, we found that many people would like to come on walks but not do anything after that. But
Uh,
our goal is really not just to know about trees. By knowing about the trees, you should actually make a difference to them, isn't it? What's the
right.
point in knowing if you don't make a difference to them?
Right.
So, our goal is actually when we get people on walks in neighborhoods, we say you can go on to doing a tree survey in your own area. If it's Velacheri, a walk in Velacheri, you know the common trees there. And then in an area, what are the kind of trees? Are there enough trees in a road? Can there be more trees in a public space? Whatever. But the
Okay.
point here is we are connecting communities to reach out to their neighborhood. And
Okay.
because they reach out in their neighborhood, they benefit. The trees
Right.
will be healthier and you will be healthier too.
Great. Marvelous. So, Kala, how did you start uh, the process once you decided that you're going to be doing something about it? What are the first steps that you took to educating people or bringing about a process for, uh, you know,
Yeah, so
letting first responders?
right. So once when I was convinced that this knowledge has to be taken forward, all the friends, well wishers, everybody said. Of course, there was people couldn't relate to what I was saying because people are very when we say about some social cause. People are used to say an orphanage or old age home or education or environment and things like that. So you go and talk to them about a first aid. People I'm talking about is 18 years back, and people were not able to relate to it. But thanks to Dr. J.S. Rajkumar, whom I still consider as a visionary and a co-founder of Alert, who was able to see the bigger picture of what I was saying, and he said, if you need to do something on these lines, which is definitely the need of the hour, he said you can't do it as an individual, and you need to start an NGO. And I said, what is an NGO? Because I had no clue. I was a person who was going to the office and coming. And I said, I have no clue on how to do it. I would rather just do whatever I can and be away from all of these formalities. But then he said, no, you cannot do that. And believe me, people will not even appreciate it if you go as an individual. And he was so right. And that was how in 2006 we started the entire effort as an NGO, which is now called Alert. And it is 18 years old, like Shobha's initiative. And yeah, so and on the when we started got started, we did a random survey with the people as to would you go and help somebody if you were to see a road traffic accident? Would you stop and help? And believe me, the answer, we all know what the answer would have been, right? But what are the
Right.
major inhibitions? The top three major inhibitions that came out as the first one being, I would love to go and help, but I don't know, like I don't know what to do. So what in case I go try doing something and it gets worse? So that fear of not knowing what to do was the first one. The second one was very, very evident inhibition that we all carry, that the fear of police and the legal systems. I would
Right.
rather go help, but be and not do any of this going to the court or the police station. But our system is that we'll get dragged into it, so we would rather be away from it. And the third one is, of course, more to do with the cultural aspects of it, which we know that we knew that we don't have much control over that at the moment. So we decided to address the top two. One, that is one, the inhibition that I want to help, but I do not know what to do. And the second one, the fear of legal and the law. So we started our training programs, which has been beautifully evolved in the last 15 years, in which we address these things, right? That one is just not the skill system, but also the educating people on what the Good Samaritan law is, and how a citizen is protected when they go and help. As a Good Samaritan with absolutely no agenda, you go and help unconditionally a stranger on the road. So this is how we go about it in a nutshell.
Wonderful. Wonderful, Kara. In your case, Sasha, at least in the case of a human being, there are people around who will go and sort of. Uh, Whereas
Yeah.
an animal which is left on the roadside, sometimes I wonder how do you even get calls? And unlike
Um,
doctors who will have to sort of, wake up in the. Do you tend to get calls at all odd times of the
um,
day? And
I mostly go out looking for them, like randomly,
okay,
because it's not like there is an ambulance which just comes right away. It's like us,
right,
we have to carry them. So it kind of happened. I give out my numbers to my friends. If they find out a dog or a cat, anything injured, let it be a bird, squirrel, let it be anything, they just give me a call. I'll just tell them what to do. They can go drop it there, or give them first aids, everything. Or if I see one, or if it is a ferocious dog, if it is very huge, you're supposed to be in person, then I go. So I have the freedom to do it, so glad about that. And the first time I encountered that was near my house. I was getting groceries, and a dog, she had seizures. So mouth was frothy, nobody was coming near that, nobody was even willing to touch him. So I picked him up, I put him in the auto. He made a mess. He was unconscious, he was in pain. So I took him, I put him in the auto, I just took him, just drove him. And when they told me that if I had delayed 10 minutes, he wouldn't have survived. So now he's back in his place, he's happy, he's paid, he's vaccinated. So then I thought, okay, Maybe I should give out my number. I should be the person to do it because nobody is willing to even touch a dog. Nobody is willing to educate people. Like, they're they're living beings. They're not supposed to be dirty. They are dirty because we keep our environment dirty. They don't have homes. As long as you keep your environment dirty, none of the living beings are going to be dirty or they're not going to smell or anything. So I made sure my environment is clean. They're all clean. So that's
But
the important.
I mean, I'm going to ask this to everyone. But where do you find the reserve of strength or that compassion? Which why do you think it is so lacking in the overall system? Is it that it's not as if you were taught that you need to look after these,
No,
and like you said, very
what
difficult cases.
I wasn't stopped. I wasn't told not to do it. Because most of the people my age, they are told that they are dirty, they bite, you get infected, you may die. You know what? If I don't do it, it may die.
Okay,
So I'm willing to take the chances.
wonderful, Sasha. Wonderful. Okay. So, Shobha, how do you contend with? And I think I'll just show a couple of things which responses which have come when you spoke the first time, which is how your team has helped to save trees in the neighborhood, and how it's not about the trees alone, but even it starts with every single tree. So, it's amazing what you do, and thank you for doing that. Okay. Uh, yeah.
Thank you
How do
so much.
you contend with public apathy? Do
So
you
that
think
is
at times
something.
that this is one of those things? Why am I forced to deal with this all the time? Why is it that people don't come out, or why is it so? And yeah, I don't think it ever gets easy, right?
Definitely no. And I think Kala and Sasha, echoed this same feeling,
Yeah.
no? It definitely is very challenging. Uh, I think apathy is worse than an illness, actually. No? It's like something that's incurable and it's seeping into every area. It's sometimes very sad to see, no, whether it is animals or helping another human being or trees, wherever. I think the important thing is, unless people realize that by helping and going beyond themselves, you actually benefit yourself. Maybe that's what they don't get. uh, you have to see value in what you're doing, and many times you have to be involved for a little period to know how much of a difference it actually makes. No, because many times I've found people are interested in coming for a tree planting event. They will come one day only for the tree
Yeah.
planting, and after that
Right.
they vanish. But trees
Right.
don't grow on their own, they need care.
Right.
So we keep telling people we don't have tree planting events. If you happen to be there when the tree needs to be planted, you're there. Otherwise, every week you can come and care. There are so many things to do in every green space. So that's the kind of no attitude we encourage, and we found some amazing people who've been part of us. And the wonderful thing is, volunteering like this, volunteering networks, you can reach across income groups. You reach across ages, from a 4-year-old to a 70-year-old. It can be a banker, it can be somebody who's a homemaker. It's some amazing connections. And
Okay.
it's very beautiful when you come across it each time. But it's also challenging when you see the apathy around.
And I just want to go back to your childhood. Did you have anything that, at that point in time, did you live in a place which was overgrown, overrun with trees? You lived in a nice shady
Yeah,
neighborhood with a
actually,
lot of trees.
when I was growing up in school, I lived in a street house in Chindadripet. We didn't have trees around at all, no space. And then
Okay.
we moved to a garden space in Vadaparni, and we had lots of trees around. But my dad and my mom, they were very fond of trees. They hail from Kerala and they love trees and gardens. But I don't think at that point I was so connected to trees, and no, it was just by the way. But when I began to look at it as a civic issue, is when I think the real no catalyst happened,
Okay.
because it meant connecting communities to care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Sure. So, Kala, what are the things that you found were easy to do, and what has been the uphill climb as far as spreading the message on uh, how people should respond in case of an accident?
Yeah, what has been easy to do is to find a reason to do it, because the reason was all over the place, on our face. And you were talking about apathy, right? And that exactly was the reason. The apathy,
Yeah.
the value for life. And we are right now, we are talking of actually, this whole discussion, I feel, is about life, right? Whether it is about trees or plants, or whether it's about animals, or whether it's about human beings, it's about life. That was particularly very, very amiss within. And I really contributed to also a cultural. While we come with a beautiful, culturally we are very, very rich as a country, but somewhere culturally we have lost the value for life, maybe because of a population. Yeah, maybe. So one life lost, one animal lost, one tree lost, it's no big deal. Maybe it's because of that. But that truly was the reason, because I believe, strongly believe, that even the fact that when there is an emergency, right, whether it is a flood, whether it is a road traffic accident, even when somebody collapses with an epilepsy, or whatever it is, there are immediately people come together. Why do they come together? Because I feel compassion is innate in us. When God created us as human beings, we have an innate nature with this, which is compassion. But compassion as an intention is great, but compassion without any action, it's a wasted
Yeah. It's
energy
a
in us.
wasted, yeah. Right.
Wasted energy.
Right.
And actually, if you see, most of the time, even with the WHO, what kills a person is not the action, it's the inaction. So when people
Right.
say, no, what in case I go and do something, and in case something happens, typically it doesn't happen that way. It's only because we are wasting that precious moments, as what they call as golden hour. That is why a life is lost. So this exactly was the reason, and so it was very easy. And this was something that didn't allow me to sleep, and all the many people, including my family, couldn't understand what I exactly was trying to do. Nor did I have the answers for everything. I just got started. And as they say, when the intention is right, and when it is unconditional, in whichever initiative that we do, the alchemy will
It
make
comes,
it
yeah.
happen. Yeah. So the
Why
dots
is it
get.
that why is it that there is this, earlier it used to be that people used to, like you said, they'd come around and then help people, but there's this weird thing now of people covering accidents on their mobile and then putting it up on, which is, I think it's a complete deterioration because they're not trying to help, they're actually trying to. So at that time I'm wondering if greed, or I don't even understand what is the emotion at work there. How are you countering something like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, that is an increasing trend that we are coming across. It is the social media culture, right? That emoticon that comes with a sad face, or like, or wow factor, that I think pumps up the youngsters, or I don't know what that culture is about. But there are certain things we can that comes within our controls. There are certain things that are beyond our control.
You
So what
can't
is
do
within
anything
our
about,
control
yeah,
is
it
what
is.
we are trying to do. And yeah, the challenges have been many, to your question, Venu. Absolutely, because as I initially said, this as a cause for even people to look at is very challenging, because this is like an insurance. Taking an insurance, why do we take insurance? That when something happens, we need to be prepared for it. This is
Right.
exactly the same. This is like a seed you're putting into the mother earth, so that the future can benefit out of it. This is something we
Yeah.
learn for ourselves, or for a family, for our loved ones, or for the community, just in case there is an emergency, right? So that, as the problem statement itself was very, very challenging for us to take it forward. Yeah, but
Okay.
times are changing now. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Sasha, one of the things you said, which You said your parents didn't stop you, which means that they didn't really. How is it you've been spreading the word to your friends and getting more people involved? What are you trying to do to ensure that there are more people who will, or do you think it's something which is very deep inside people and it's not something that there are either people oriented one way or they're not?
It is rooted inside people, but I feel like the media is basically overpowering, the idea of seeing an animal differently and humans differently, and seeing dogs differently and cats differently. Like, there are people who hate them, there are people who love only certain species. So, we come across everyone, and we also come across parents who, who tell their child, who just sow the seed of
Yeah,
hatred towards them. So when you differentiate that, we only get less, very less children, very less people who are empathetic. Like, I train children, like, there were a couple of kids who came, they wanted to volunteer, their mom pulled away. So there are some age factors, their mothers are scared, what if my child gets bitten, what if something happens to them? We have solutions for everything. Taking care of an animal is, I wouldn't say it's very easy, because it mentally disturbs you sometimes. You have to see the most worst things possible. Um, can't explain that. It happens because since they are
yeah,
voiceless,
it happens.
every single day we hurt them just by
So what
using.
are after you take them to a Blue Cross facility or wherever, and you try and get them back to heal them.
Yes, there is
Then
a
you're
payout
going
and
back into the very same environment, right? After
yeah,
that, they are
to be
not
back to
kept.
the same
So
environment. We have to just fill up the addresses properly and give them the correct contact number. So they will contact you after the animal, is healed, vaccinated. So I take care of vaccinations outside because I know the organization is low on funds. So I take care of the vaccinations. They take care of the healing process. So once that is done, they'll be back in the same space where they were taken from. So it's hard to contain animals in one particular shelter or one particular space. They're very territorial. So it's good that
yeah, all of those
we
things.
as
Yeah,
an individual take care of our environment, our community dogs, cats, feed them, take care of them, or at least don't hurt them.
right,
Don't give them a reason to go fall into a pit, fall into a well. Keep them water. There are small, small, small stuffs which can make you much kinder and, as a human being, brings you
right.
close. Like, going cruelty free was my last step of understanding humanity towards animals. I became vegan 3 years ago. I made sure that what all products I use are cruelty free, because every single time we pick up a bag, we use toilet cleaners or whatever it is, we kill billions of animals. So, not
Okay,
just looking at an accident or not just hurting them, is whatever we do,
okay.
eating, anything, we kill them. So, I just make sure that the younger generations or my friends, I just tell them that make sure whatever you do, just don't hurt them or don't be the reason that you're funding a company which hurts billions of animals. Make
Do
sure
they
that
see you as different? When you talk to your friends, do they see you
I
as
want to have
different? And I
friends.
say,
I
look, everyone wants to talk about parties and, friends, and this is a stage of life. So here you are coming with a message that is not entirely something that is
True.
party conversation. So,
Yeah.
so I assume that it's not just difficult to do as a volunteer. It
Oh,
is even difficult to spread among your friends
true.
because they'll say that, oh, this is an activist. If she comes to the party, then we're going to, you know,
No,
it's
they
so
see
how do
me
you
as a liability. Like, they just call me. They want to get the work done. They just don't do it. So that's when I started educating younger minds. Like, there are kids who come. They say, "I want to follow your footsteps." That's when I'm like, "Okay, I found you." So there is empathy, and there are parents who are like, "Just teach her. She's so interested in it." So that's when I thought, okay,
okay,
there are people who know stuff. They want to learn, and stopping
yeah,
them, that's apathy. That's how we infest it. So
okay,
there's a lot.
okay, great. Shobha, one of the things I see is that it's almost like this, holding the dam back. There are people who are putting their fingers and then saying, okay, let me stop the flow of water. I think the kind of causes which you guys, all of you are doing, is almost like it's such a small, it's like the blade of grass in a storm, because the whole world is not interested. We have all this, at one great level there is one COP28 which says this is how we should stop global warming, but
Yeah,
people are not even prepared to cut back on their consumption, leave alone do something. Like Sasha says vegan, but she's one. Like they said, if all the plastic in the world, even if all the people who are currently using it, the problem is that it is so, what do you say, it is so
ram-
easy to spread plastic that
yeah,
it's very difficult to do away with it altogether. And the thing is, you're fighting a battle against people who are looking for land because within a certain city,
yeah,
a wonderful green area is seen as the
yeah,
perfect environment to live in, and everyone wants to live there,
yeah,
but only after they've bought a house right next to it.
yeah, yeah.
So,
So,
what is your, how do you, very lots of conflicts right through, right?
yeah. So the thing is, another the concept of tree planting is there on one side, and then on the other hand, you have people cutting trees all around. In fact, in Tamil Nadu, we actually still don't have a tree preservation act in urban areas. We are fighting hard to get the government to pass that too. So, see, all this will happen when there is awareness as to how important these trees or any green cover is, and that you can't eat money, first of all. No, somewhere I think people have lost the connect because you don't realize the value. Trees are not telling you or charging you for whatever services they give you. So now we talk all around of climate change, like you were saying, no way, no, like the point here is the power of each individual. I think we should focus on that. What is the difference I can make as an individual to my home, to my apartment, to my street, to my area, to my neighborhood? Now, all of these can be extrapolated. Now, all of this, if we can begin from each individual, because you understand how valuable it is, then I think change will happen. And we can only focus on the things that we can focus on. We obviously can't change the world.
Change. Yeah.
So, how do we protect trees in your area? We have no. I get calls from across India on a tree helpline. No, how do we save the tree which is on the road?
Okay.
Somebody is cutting trees. What should I do? So we try and help. Tell them whom to call and things like that.
No, but that's a, at least there is some measure of bringing sanity into a place where you say that you can't just develop. Like you said, you can't eat money, and neither can you have a barren landscape and then believe that life will be exactly the same. It's not going to
Yeah,
happen. So
yeah.
it's wonderful what, Okay. So, Kala, in terms of what has been one of your most fulfilling sessions of where you got, you did a session and then you found, or every time you hear, what are the good parts of volunteering? What are the things that you see where you're able to bring about change?
Yeah, so the primary intention, as I said, like the intention of alert existing today is itself like no life should in our country should be lost because just because somebody doesn't know what to do or because they are pulled back due to their fears. So every time our volunteers come back and say they have saved a life or they've protected somebody or they've taken them to the hospital, every single time there is we get a report back from our volunteers about life saved. I mean, it is a tremendous I mean, I can't even begin to say what it is because, like, as I said, we encounter a lot of challenges running this organization, but every single time we hear something like this, it is once again a reiteration that we are in the right direction. And as
Right.
simple as, back in August 9th, I happened to, I would say, I wouldn't say I saved a life, but I would say I was instrumental, in uh, doing my role in saving that person. Uh, During my morning runs and in the Besant Nagar beach, I happened to see a person collapsed. He was in his late 60s or early 70s, I'm not sure. And he had an absolute flat line. He was, no motion, and his eyes had gone up. And I immediately started doing CPR, and then the ambulance came. To cut the whole story short, like, it is basically he's back in the Besant Nagar again, walking back, after almost
Wonderful.
3 weeks of ICU treatment at Malar Hospital. So, I mean, it is very easy to say if something had happened to him that day, it is easy to say that, his time had come and it's good that he went away without any struggle. But hey, you can still give a person a chance. And to that
Yeah.
family, when I go back, when I see them today, they still, I mean, I'm really saying this with a lot of humility, to say, not to blow the trumpet, but to say that they say that you were God in disguise. You came at that moment. Had you had you not been there,
That,
we would have
right.
lost that person. So likewise, these moments, these moments which are really life transforming, are the is I feel
Best
is
parts of
what
it.
keeps us going.
Okay. Terrific. So, Sasha, in your case, animals can never say thank you. They can't even express what they're doing. So, how do you keep yourself motivated?
They express.
Huh?
They do. They express a lot.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, we have to
Okay.
listen. We have to listen. We have to have the need, the eye to see how they are grateful
Right.
to us. So I,
No, it's amazing how you understand that that bond, which may last for just about that 15 minutes to half an hour, when the animal understands it's being rescued, it's finding someone who is willing to take that. And I mean, saying it's all unsaid, but you also understand at some point. So, give me a sense of one or two of the incidents that you remember, which have, one you told me
um,
of the dog which was frothing at the mouth, and then
yeah,
you managed to, yeah.
I kind of encountered a lot of abandoned cases.
Okay.
So there was this one particular dog who was being tied up and abused every single day. Usually, it's illegal to tie a dog 24/7. So you can actually file a complaint against it and the dog will be retrieved. So I wasn't aware, but all of a sudden, when I found out this dog was outside our house roaming about, I found out that he was traumatized. He was frustrated that he has to bite. He has that anger to bite anything inside. So I thought, if I'm gonna just keep him there, leave him there, he's definitely gonna get himself killed because near my area they're all about, it's a main road, so obviously just throw anything at him. So I was not okay with it. So once he was about to bite someone else, I intervened and I got bit. My mom was seriously disappointed. I got 11 holes in my leg. It didn't heal for three
Oh,
months. And that night, he was crying. He was like as if he made a very huge blunder. He was crying. I was like, okay, you know what? You just come inside the house. I brought him in. I spayed him. I made sure all the frustration was taken out. I gave him some toys to tear apart. I gave him lots of food. After spaying, after that one particular surgery, he's the calmest, sweetest dog. Until now, I see him. I've given him to one of my friends, so he's taking care of it since we shifted. He's the sweetest. And I thought that's the second chance. Like any senior dog, any dog, they deserve a second chance. Just, we can't just simply euthanize them. We can't just leave them on the road just because. And to be honest, they can survive on their own. They are better than us. They can survive. But all they need is a little push. And when I can see them every day, when I can see them just because I gave a nudge, they're happy. And that's more than enough to keep me motivated.
amazing. Okay. No, these are truly the heartwarming stories.
Yeah.
So, what would
So
you
lovely to
change?
hear Sasha, to meet a young person like her.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Yeah, I
Sasha.
mean,
Thank
it's
you, ma'am.
truly, and to see the amount of she's really caring for a set of things that are not even on the periphery of our vision. That is, in the sense that she's actively going after them and then saying, "What can you do?"
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in terms of what is the progress you think you've made, Shobha, in the last 18 years? I realize this is a this thing. So, where would you say are the points that give you some hope of saying that yes, I think we've made a difference here?
Yeah, when Nidal began, newspaper reports would only say 1,000 saplings planted. Nobody ever mentioned what kind of species. Now people
Okay.
go on to mentioning species. There is more focus on indigenous species, species that we need to bring back. For instance, the real Ashoka tree is actually endangered in India.
Oh,
So why is this happening? Because there is no awareness on what it is, where to source it, etc., etc. But I would also say that just being aware, creating awareness doesn't help to sustain action, because you need to raise awareness for action. And that step between awareness and action is a huge step. So we need to facilitate it slowly. That's what we have realized. You have to make it in simple steps, handhold people till, because I always feel this is like a roller coaster. The uphill is very hard. But once you're there, you understand the value all around, and then everything gets faster. And also this the talk of this Tree Preservation Act, a lot of interesting things happening. There's a lot of community feeling and coming together for such, caring for trees in neighborhoods. We have some amazing volunteers in different sites across Chennai. For instance, we have Selva, who's a marine engineer, who 3 months of the year he's on off on the ship, and 3 months onshore, and all the time he's at one of our sites helping. While on ship, he's thinking about what is on the site. No, I mean it's so beautiful. Yeah,
yeah. No, that's amazing how, and I think you brought about that change because you offered an opportunity, and that is the other part. If you manage to find something that is of genuine interest to you, then the interest is kind of it propagates, which is, I think, the marvelous work that you're doing. Okay, so Kala, in terms of how long does this actual training take?
Yeah.
The alert program.
Yeah, so we have varied programs, like starting from a basic program where, which is like about for 90 minutes, and then we have the 1 day advanced training where it's a complete hands-on program, and then we have the 2 day program, which is like an absolute intense training. And then we also have our signature program, which we call it as the voice, a voice standing for volunteers in case of emergency. So that is what it says, the voice program,
Okay,
right?
okay,
And then apart from that, we have programs for school, which is alerted school programs. And then we have a varied, for varied audience and varied time limits, like we have multiple programs. But if I have to go back and say what is the basic minimum you can spare to learn this, gain this knowledge, it's a 90-minute program, which would cover all the basic do's and don'ts. Because first aid is, while it is about the do's, it's also mainly about don'ts. What you shouldn't do to make things
right,
worse. Right. So it's about the do's and don'ts, and a little bit awareness on the Good Samaritan law, which will protect you, because when you're out there to save lives, you need to first take care of yourself. So those things, and then what is a CPR, and what do you do when you face with some common medical emergencies, right? Which is like a fracture, choking, bleeding, these kind of things. So if you can spare time, that one can spare a time in which they go for seeing or watching a film or going to a restaurant, that is all it takes. 2.5 hours or 3 hours that you go for a movie, That is all it takes. And this is a life skill. This will stay with you for life.
Okay. No, it's amazing. I'm just wondering how many things that just because you've set aside the time, how many people have lives have been saved, trees have been saved, and animals have been saved. So how do you see this going forward, Sasha? What is it that you want to do in the future?
I want to become a vet, so I'm still pursuing it. Um, I want to make sure that at least one person cares for the community dogs that they're located by, because they keep us safe. There are so many, because life's very boring without them, honestly. And I wish that the younger minds, they can have the I want to educate them on how different that an indie dog, a dog which lives on the street, and the dog as a pet at home is different, because
Okay.
we buy them, like generally they buy dogs and they don't know how harmful it is for the mother dog, which has to bear seven other puppies just for one child to play with on Christmas. And
Okay.
every year, at least 50,000 pets, they get homes for one day because it's some sort of an event or a birthday or something. And then they get dumped off the next day because they can't handle it. And I want at least, some people to come forth and just learn that they are life. You can't just gift them. You can't throw them away if they're not toys. So in my future, I see that I am surrounded with, people who understand them, people who knows the value of saving one life is going to fulfill you forever. So it just keep you going. So I just want to be surrounded
Right.
by them, and I'll make sure that at least, a lot of people do it. So as a vet, I
Yeah.
want to make sure that it happens.
No, and it's not easy. I think it's almost looking like reservoirs of empathy. I had a vet on the show, Dr. Bharanidharan, and he was saying that during COVID, he volunteered to look after a set of lions. There were 10 lions with COVID. And he was saying he had to wear the entire thing, and the lions were coughing almost like humans were. That is, you could hear the same, that, hollow, rasping thing. And he says even in the US, no keeper was going anywhere near the lions. But he found, which is why I think vets, like you said, it's the perfect profession for you, because it's almost like it's a
Because
match made in
we
heaven.
see the other side of it. Because once we get into this, the whole idea of veterinary is going to change. Once you see
Right.
the other side of it, because just by drinking one glass of milk, I am killing two calves a day.
Okay.
And I just by using a wrong brand of makeup, I'll be killing billions of other animals
Uh,
just by testing on them. So,
yeah.
I think small changes matter.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand your
This
frustration.
platform has given me that. So thank you so
Right.
much.
No,
And
no, it's my pleasure. It's our privilege that we're getting to talk to people like you. Like
no,
I
not
said,
a lot of
I
people know this.
know.
So thank you so much.
Okay, so Shobha, what is it that it's almost an hour. So what is it that you want to leave people with? What is the message? If you want to put out a certain, this thing, I can sort of, what is it that you want to let out in terms of a number, in terms of wanting to join as a volunteer, if you could,
Yeah,
if you want to,
yeah,
all those details, if you can give it out, I'll be happy to put it out there.
yeah.
I'll add
Uh,
it to the description in the show notes as well. But
okay.
if you want to say something to people, please go right
Yeah.
ahead.
uh, the only thing I would like to say is make a difference to the green spaces in your area, get more green cover happening, care for it because it makes a difference to you, and do it in a sustained manner. Our numbers are on our website, nidaltn.org, and any of you are welcome to volunteer. And we don't need to be experts to care for trees and nature. Anybody can care as long as you have the heart. And it greens, the idea is that you green not only lands, but it will green your mind too. You will become a better person. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. So, greening your mind, I think that's a great thought out there. So, we'll Keep that with people. Kala, what is it that you would want to leave people with? I think the point you made about this is nothing more than sitting inside a hotel or dine at a restaurant, and you can actually, gain something which will help you for life. What is it that you want to leave people with?
Yeah, all I would like to say is don't wait for a personal loss to learn this important life skill. I would really, really urge everybody to learn this. And we are on a right now as a priority mission that we are uh, creating a first responders network, because we don't want to just leave it to chance that, say, if somebody is trained and and if they happen to be there where an emergency is happening, only then they get to save that life. But what in case, our thought was, what in case we bring in, we have 2 days, to date we have trained over 300,000 people pan India. Why not bring in
Wow.
all of these people into a network and make them available wherever these emergencies are happening? And for a population like ours, no number is enough, right? So
Yeah,
typically the goal that
absolutely.
was given to us by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam was to train at least one in every family in first aid and emergency care. And that is the mission that we are going after. So I would really urge to get trained. And we have our website. All the details are there. And the website is www.alert.ngo. Very simple. And you can either write to us. All our training programs are there. Or, my number, I can also, I can leave it with
Sure.
Venu and all the details. And you can reach us and get trained. Yeah.
Wonderful.
This is
Sasha, closing thoughts, anything that you would like to say? Because I'm sure that, do you have a network in place? Are there some people that, are working along
Um,
with you on this?
yes, so we, as Blue Cross has a link description, I'll leave it. Just fill a form and get the details done. An ambulance will be sent according to the emergency. If it's treatable in the roads, a mobile ambulance with the vet will be sent there. And if it is not, we'll be taking it back and dropping it, wherever it's taken. And more than organization, it's best that we do it. And contacting the shelter or contacting a nearest volunteer or me, anybody, will guide you through the whole process. Just take him to a vet, get the first aids done, and then you can get them admitted. It's like giving them an extra insurance. So it can be
Right,
done at
right,
home, patching their wounds, anything. So I'll leave the links,
right,
the phone numbers with you.
right. So I think the thank you all for, agreeing to come on the show, spending your time telling us what you have been through. And I can understand the conflicting emotions that you have, the fact that you're doing something which is which is bringing about change. You wonder why people are not more empathetic. uh, it's amazing how you found the reserves of empathy, compassion, and time to keep doing this. So thank you for what you do, and it's wonderful to have had you on the show.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much.
Shobha. I think Kala dropped out because her electricity, her connection must have gone off. But
Oh,
thank you for coming on the show
thank you very
and
much.
being a part of this.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Shobha.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sasha, thank you very much for being on the show. It's been a real pleasure.
More
Thank
than
you. And that rounds off the year. As JC Jayachanan said, that it was a nice note to end it on. Happy New Year. We look forward to a great 2024 as we continue more career journeys and we figure out what other lives and other careers are all about.